Hello, everyone. My name is Kenny Wilson. This is my interview project for American Higher Education. All right, so I had the opportunity to interview Mr. Vance Charles, who currently works at South University. This particular interview was held on September 20th, 2018 at 5:30 p.m. through a virtual phone conference. Mr. Charles currently serves as the Dean of Student Affairs at South University. Okay, so we're going to begin by discussing Mr. Charles's credentials. Mr. Charles currently holds the following degrees. He received a Bachelor of Science in Sociology with a minor in Gender Studies. He also received a Master's of Arts in Professional Communication and Leadership. Lastly, he received an EDS in Technology Integration. Um, we briefly discussed the framework of how technology is a key driver in communication on campus. Many of teachings and curriculums and things of that nature are often administered through technological advancement. And so Mr. Charles expressed how having this particular degree creates a more holistic approach to the needs of serving students and the university at large. On to duties and responsibilities of Dean of Student Affairs. In serving as Dean of Student Affairs, Mr. Charles is tasked with planning and implementing all orientation programs and events for student engagement. Mr. Charles supervises the Career Services Department and assists in the enhancement of services provided to students. Mr. Charles is also responsible for the administration and compliance with Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, ADA, and institutional grievance processes and procedures. These particular legislations and laws are in place for, again, the safety and protocol of the student experience, ensuring that needs tailored in situations that arise are in alignment with university goals and expectations. What positions were held by Mr. Charles? Mr. Charles served as Graduate Assistant for Housing and Residence Life. He also served as the Interim Director for Student Affairs. Mr. Charles was most proud to acknowledge that he served as a Director of Student Affairs, where he gained a large amount of valuable experience in the logistics of higher education. In the actual role as interim director of student affairs, as well as being the actual director of student affairs, he was quickly promoted to that position from his tireless efforts to continue to serve students. He says that from a logistical standpoint, working with many different departments was able to create this collective impact on the students, bringing many different discussions to the table to see what kind of infrastructure can be put in place to continue to foster those relationships to get student buy-in. Mr. Charles is the reason for pursuing higher education field. His undergraduate experience was one thing that he definitely also highlighted was the mere fact of having certain challenges as a undergraduate student and how he would seek to one day take a more proactive approach in a leadership position of change to continue to change the narrative of student experiences on the campus that they're currently attending. His graduate assistantship is where he began to really reaffirm his wants and pursuits to pursue higher education. He felt that in a graduate assistantship position, he was able to challenge students to take initiative and be actively engaged and involved in the activities and academic aspects of higher education, where they are able to be their own drivers of change in their career pursuits and their career experiences and collegiate experiences. He credits working in housing as a graduate assistant, where he was able to broker relationships with students and staff to collectively work to keep students active and engaged. Highlights and challenges of the position. Highlights: Mr. Charles feels that the position is forever evolving, affording him the opportunity to work very closely with academic affairs. One major challenge was he stated that the biggest challenge he faces is ensuring that students are actively engaged and retention efforts continue to meet the needs of students at the institution. I quickly asked Mr. Charles, well, what do you do particularly to help keep students engaged and increase retention on campus? He explained that his main driver is to create open dialogue and communication of input from students about particular programming activities um, that could bring more so of a support role to enhance their campus experience. He even develops focus groups for students to engage in that challenges students to take initiative and lead these particular conversations, and also bringing in staff and faculty to be a part of those conversations to create that transparency and synergy amongst all. Departmental information and the mission statement. Student affairs at South University, you'll find an environment that supports your goals and drive to succeed. To that end, we provide you with the necessary services and support that you get the most out of your educational experience. We believe in setting a standard of professionalism within our classroom so that you can transfer that same level of behavior and mindset when you enter your chosen career. While here, you'll be surrounded by like-minded students who will push you to your potential, and you'll find a supportive faculty who cares about your professional and personal growth. Departmental information, organization structure, and growth. In reference to the organizational structure, there is a vice president of student affairs, a dean of student affairs, a federal work study individual, and a student worker. Recent growth. Within the last 5 years, Student Affairs Department no longer supervises career services. Career services was granted its own department and leadership. Over the last few years, there was no significant changes. However, programming centered around co-curricular activities has become more prevalent on campus. Departmental information continued. From a budgetary status standpoint, Mr. Charles expressed that the budgetary status of the department is financially sound. He works to ensure that the procurement guidelines are followed for each transaction. Financially, to have more curricular activities for students, such as partnering with current leadership and desired student career paths, create a continuum of relationships for students to seek to pursue their career goals. The biggest accomplishment: increase student awareness via email, as well as encouraging students to take initiative for potential scholarship obtainment. Largest difficulty: getting faculty and staff on board to encourage students to utilize the student information platform known as Brightspace. Um, Brightspace is similar to our Folio or Desire to Learn um, database or actual site for student academic engagement online. Faculty buy-in is key to continue to drive this home to students of the very importance of utilizing this type of software. My interview reaction. In conducting this interview, I was inspired, motivated, and eager to further engulf myself in the logistics and services for student achievement. A particular part of the position that stood out to me was understanding the budgetary aspects of the position. One decision can impact the entire department directly. As I listened to Mr. Charles speak about the financial standpoint of the actual position, it kind of alarmed me because it's very important to understand a financial standpoint to make those decisions. And then the next slide, I'll continue to express why that was alarming to me. Overall assessment interview. Administrative leadership in higher education has piqued my interest. While in my undergraduate pursuits, from a logistical standpoint, Mr. Charles was very transparent in his efforts to ensure I understood the true demands of the department as well as his abilities to motivate staff and students. I would truly find it an honor to work under his leadership. The Student Affairs Department plays a pivotal role in student engagement and achievement. Mr. Charles motivated me to want to continue pursuing a position in this department where the opportunity presents itself to be a true advocate for student success. Mr. Charles also offered to become a mentor for me to assist my development in the student affairs arena. Furthermore, in closing, Mr. Charles expressed that it is key to fully know exactly what it is that you are looking to do in higher education. Higher education has a broad array of different departments and roles and positions that can all seek to change and motivate, inspire, and transition students into their collegiate pursuits and goals. I was very excited to be able to take part in this interview and broker another relationship with a potential mentor to continue to guide me in my efforts to become a vice president of student affairs, as well as one day sit on the University System of Georgia Board of Regents, ensuring the impact of legislation and governance to provide a bigger future for the students of tomorrow. Thank you again for reviewing and listening to my presentation.